Before dawn, a single Longline vessel leaves harbor, chasing swordfish that migrate along invisible ocean roads.
As land drops away, home becomes steel, cable, and a chart plotter line heading for deep contour lines. Inside the wheelhouse, miles of empty blue are reduced to numbers, headings, and a slowly moving cursor.
Below deck, compressors hum steadily, the cold heart that will have to hold every swordfish they land.
For now, the fish hold is an empty steel cave, waiting for its first pale trunks of swordfish.
Before the hooks can fish, the bait has to be turned from frozen blocks into thousands of perfect mouthfuls. Every strip is cut to match a jaw built for speed, not chewing, just one decisive bite and gone.
Along the baiting rail, bare steel arcs wait to become tiny decisions hanging in black water.
One movement per hook, one strip per circle, no decoration, just bait seated deep in the bend.
At the stern, mainline, hooks, and buoys begin their slow conversion from deck load to seafloor fence.
From outside, the vessel leaves a dotted path, buoys sketching a curve toward depths where swordfish hunt.
With the last buoy overboard, gravity and depth take over. The gear disappears into blue-black water.
Far below, hooks settle along broken contours, another layer in a landscape of rock, current, and darkness.
For a while, nothing moves. Only distant particles drift, the ocean pretending to be empty.
Then the first shape enters frame, long, straight bill, cutting ahead of a body built for single charges. Others follow, ghosting along the cable, sampling scent plumes that leak slowly from each hanging bait.
Swordfish are cautious. Some strips vanish in a single slash, leaving hooks swinging bare in their wake.
But sooner or later, curiosity and hunger align perfectly with the geometry of a single circle hook. The fish turns away, and the hook does what it was built to do, rotating toward the jaw's hardest corner. In an instant, everything connected feels it. Branch line snaps tight. Main line trembles along the seabed.
At the surface, the first sign is subtle, just a rhythm change along a line of identical buoys.
The crew reads those movements instantly, recognizing the stubborn drag of something solid and alive.
Orders snap out, winch drums spin up as the vessel turns to put the line on the right working angle. When the buoy finally knocks against the hull, battle and harvest officially move from theory to reality. The opening haul feels mechanical at first. Line up, hook off, fish down the chute into cold darkness. Hook by look, the pattern repeats, each fish another weight shifting from ocean ledger to human account.
Then the angle on one leader stays wrong, deeper, heavier, refusing to lift cleanly toward the roller. The captain feathers throttle and helm, trying to take some sting out of whatever is fighting down the line.
When the first really heavy fish rolls aboard, the mood shifts. This is why they came this far.
The first explosion comes without warning, a swordfish turning the surface into shattered glass beside the stern. Another fish bolts in the opposite direction, tail scything white water while crew scramble to clear nearby gear.
For a moment, 3 leaders sing at once, turning the hauler station into the loudest point on the ship.
Another fish bursts half out of the wake, bill thrashing, as if trying to sword the very air itself.
On deck, the fight becomes close quarters work, heavy muscle and hard bills just an arm's length from steel toes.
Every movement is calculated. One man holds the tail, another pins the bill flat, a third works the hook free.
The fish never stop moving, turning the deck into a shifting maze of tails, ice, and streaming seawater. Around the hauler, communication is reduced to shouts, hand signals, and the pitch of the cable under strain. Step back, and the controlled chaos resolves into a pattern. Vessel, line, men, and fish locked in one circuit. For a few seconds, everything compresses into sound. Line screaming, hull vibrating, commands snapped into the wind. The biggest swordfish of the set finally appears, silver flank and dark fin dwarfing the men at the rail.
It refuses to roll, using that long bill like a lever, beating sheets of spray against the hull plates.
Line by line, the crew shortens the distance, trading cable and ocean for wet deck and steel rail.
When the head finally clears the surface, the size becomes undeniable, and this fish represents thousands of dollars.
They use brute teamwork instead of heroics, heaving together until the fish crosses the rail in one surge.
Only once the hook is out and muscles finally quiet do they allow themselves a few seconds to breathe.
By now, everyone is sweating through gear, but the set still stretches for miles. The work can't stop yet.
As the last active leaders come aboard, the ratio shifts. More empty hooks, fewer surprises waiting in the depths.
Below, trunks stack higher with every slide, pale blocks of meat layered between ice and recirculating seawater.
A clipboard appears again. Numbers replace splashes as each fish becomes weight, grade, and an entry on a page.
By the time the last buoy is winched aboard, the deck is more gear than fish again, order returning.
One last sweep of the hold shows why everyone is smiling. The cold room looks more like a quarry than a freezer.
For a brief few minutes, work gives way to celebration. Anger of the fight replaced by laughter on steel.
Celebration is short. Soon hooks are washed, coils are stacked, and the long line becomes cargo again. The gear that just linked them to wild animals now rests silent, lashed down like any other piece of freight.
Patches close over the hold, sealing in cold, weight, and the next few weeks of someone's meals ashore.
With the fish secure, attention turns to the deck itself, scrubbing away every trace of the battle just fought.
When water runs clear and gear is stowed, the working deck looks almost as if nothing ever happened here.
Downstairs, the engineer checks compressors again. Failure now would mean losing the entire set in a single night.
Logbooks capture what memory might forget. Positions, weather, gear length, and rough totals scribbled in cramped handwriting. Outside, the bow turns gently toward the faint glow of shore. Hull rolling easier now without gear in the water.
Night closes in, leaving only wheelhouse glow and deck floodlights to mark a moving island of steel and cold fish. Inside, the galley stove works overtime, trading part of the catch for calories that keep the crew pushing.
By the time the coast lights appear off the bow, everyone knows roughly what is in the hold and what it might be worth.
At the harbor entrance, Longline vessel becomes freighter, lining up between tugs, tankers, and other working ships. Dock lines take the load that cables carried yesterday. For a short time, the vessel is part of the land again.
Hatches open once more, this time to cranes and forklifts instead of waves and spray. A brailer dips into the hold and rises heavy, transferring cold weight from shipboard ice to dockside scales. Each swing of the crane ends at a platform scale, where tons become numbers and signatures on a receipt.
From there, the fish move only a few meters, but cross a major boundary, from the fisherman's world into the factories.
Forklifts take over where winches leave off, shuttling tubs toward the yawning doors of the processing plant. Inside the chill of the receiving room, each lot is weighed again, this time under fluorescent light instead of sky. Tubs are opened only long enough for inspectors to check temperature, glaze, and general condition of the catch.
Once accepted, the swordfish join a short queue, waiting on the edge of stainless steel rather than open water. At the first table, heads and tails are removed, reshaping the long fish into manageable trunks for downstream lines.
A single guided cut opens the belly, releasing viscera into a waiting bin without splashing the rest of the room.
Now the work becomes more delicate, trading saws for fillet knives and rough trunks for smooth, boneless loins.
Each loin is checked by sight and touch, quality judged in seconds before the line carries it out of reach.
Each tray moves under a metal wand that sucks out air, trading oxygen for shelf life in a heartbeat. Workers check seals and labels, confirming that every pack carries the information needed to trace it back to sea.
Packs stack into cartons, cardboard replacing stainless as the last surface between fish and the outside world. A forklift arrives again, this time to carry frozen value instead of dripping tubs of whole fish.
Inside the deep freeze, breath turns to fog and time stretches. Product might sit here for weeks or move out tomorrow. When an order comes in, pallets are pulled from the grid, marked not by species silhouette, but by printed codes.
Outside, the pallet is loaded into a waiting reefer truck, cold transferring from building to the vehicle in seconds.
Highways and shipping lanes replace migration routes, carrying frozen steaks toward ports that never see live swordfish.
The last leg is often the shortest, a small van carrying a few cartons to a single back door in the city.
In the restaurant's walk-in cooler, cardboard joins vegetables and sauces, just another component of tonight's service.
Packs move from frozen carton to perforated pans, thawing slowly under controlled cold rather than on a counter.
By prep time, steaks sit firm but pliable, ready to become something more than just inventory on a shelf. Seasoning is simple: salt, pepper, maybe herbs and oil, trusting the fish to bring most of the flavor by itself. Plating brings everything together: swordfish sharing space with starch, vegetables, and a small pool of sauce.
Orders stack along the rail, each ticket a tiny echo of the long, cold chain that brought this fish here.
Out in the dining room, swordfish appears simply as a menu line, one choice among many in a busy city night. At one table, a plate lands with a soft clink, bringing a piece of the offshore hunt within arm's reach.
The first bite lasts only seconds, but condenses months of decisions, from spawning grounds to gear choice to grill temperature.
Around them, conversations drift between work, family, and plans, rarely touching the animal that made this meal possible.
For the restaurant, swordfish is inventory and margin, a line on both menu and spreadsheet to be managed carefully.
Somewhere offshore, another Longline vessel is already steaming out, beginning the cycle that will feed future tickets.
In the city, only faint hints remain: menu words, receipt codes, and a lingering aroma from the grill.
Most diners will leave without ever seeing a whole swordfish, much less the gear and people that caught it.
Yet a straight line can still be traced, from this sidewalk, through kitchens and factories, back to open water.
For fishermen, the story ends not with applause, but with fuel bills, maintenance lists, and the next weather forecast.
Somewhere between dock and dining room, swordfish changes from animal to ingredient, but the ocean remains written in every bite.